Hi everybody, welcome back to this video. This is hopefully going to be a good video. Hopefully I can do justice to the weekend that just was. Here we are, back home again with the R7 in one piece. So that's a good sign that the race weekend went very well. I've been trying to think how to comprise this video. I recorded pretty much every session on the track with the Instago 3S. So I do have a bunch of footage. Not all of it is interesting. Some of it didn't quite work out because my helmet steamed up at one point. But in general, let's just talk about it. In general, the weekend was great. I set some nice achievable goals on my first race back, first race over here in the States. Those goals are pretty simple: to have fun, to try and make progress in times around that track, and to try and have some reasonable starts. When I used to race, some of my starts were not the best, so I just wanted to see if I could maybe have a different approach this time, make a couple of changes in my own head, or just be a bit more relaxed, whatever, and have some good starts. And I guess the final goal was to try and be consistent and to work efficiently on the bike, not to stress my whole body out trying to grab a little bit of extra brake into turn whatever, but just to try and let it flow and let the bike do the work. That's one of the things I kept telling myself: let the bike do the work, flow through these corners, and just try not to exert too much energy. One of the first race, which we'll come to in a minute, was relatively a long race, like 20 something plus minutes. So I knew that I would be, puffing and panting quite quickly into that race. So it was important to just try and ease myself in and approach it in a different way than I might just go out and attack, So all of those goals actually were pretty much achieved, I think. We got some better times. The starts were pretty reasonable, quite good in some cases. We'll see that in one of the races. And just have a lot of fun. And we definitely had a lot of fun. And I just had a great time and can't wait to go back again. I don't want to talk too much because I know you'll probably be interested in track footage and just seeing how it all went. So I don't know if I've got much else to say other than thank you to all the people that were there, just having a word of encouragement at the track. You guys all know who you are. I don't want to name all the names because I'll forget somebody probably and make a mistake there, but just the whole atmosphere at the track as being a rider was great. There was no weird eagerness or anything like that. It was just a great time, and got to try and talk to a few different people and make new friends or acquaintances. And just thank you to everyone who made it a good weekend, and you know who you are. I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. It was such a good time, and I'm sure I'll be back out again. Alright, so we're going to get straight into it. Race 1 was the GTL, so this was a long race. The start was a little bit chaotic, but we got through it. And that's one thing to bear in mind. Always be prepared when you're out on track racing. Don't make any assumptions. Be prepared for anything, and have a plan if you can. But anyway, I think I'm going to go straight into that race now. I do have some kind of vloggy style footage throughout the days. It wasn't very consistent though, so it's a bit hard for me to just throw that in there, and then there's a huge gap for the second day where I didn't say anything to the camera in between races. So I might have some of that footage at the end if you're really interested. But yeah, alright, we're gonna get straight into it. Alright, let's try and talk through this race. This is the GT Lightweight and GT 500 class, I think. Both experts and amateur. The light is only on for very briefly, if you can just see it at the end of the metalwork there. And that catches a few people out. As you can see, it's a bit of a mayhem here at the start, but we managed to get through it successfully. We slot in behind. We've got Mark right in front of us, and then Aaron's in the bright orange and yellow leathers ahead of us. I'm trying to keep my eyes on him, because if I can keep anywhere close to him, I know I've got a good race. But even though I do try my best with this traffic, and you know, he's a fast rider, he eventually gets away. But I know that I've got a chance to get past Mark, so I'm trying to keep it tidy. And once we're through this section, I'm going to try and outbrake him into turn 6. So I'm trying to keep it smooth, trying to get early on the gas, even though it's an opening lap. And yeah, we managed to make it through. So Aaron's ahead of us, and I know if I can keep my eyeballs on his backside, then I've got a chance of doing something. But it doesn't last too long. He's already making his way through the traffic, as you can see. So I'm just doing my best to push on the early laps, but also not exert too much energy for what we're going to need for the rest of the race. So yeah, eventually I come up against the same traffic again. I think this guy is on one of the 400 bikes, maybe a 390 or something. So we do get past him, and as I say, Aaron is still tantalizingly just there, so I'm pushing as hard as I can, but ultimately Aaron will disappear into the distance. But yeah, he was a good target to have for those early laps. And then I tried to settle into a groove, settle into a rhythm, and just click off the laps as best I could. I was hoping for the halfway mark long before it was the halfway mark. I think Matty's gonna fly by now. Is this the clip? Yep, there we go. So this is Matt, who does usually run an SV650, but that had an issue on the Friday practice day. So he brought out his backup Kramer bike and showed us what you can do on that. I know it's still new to him, so he's working on that as well and making good progress too. It was kind of, as you can see, they're getting away from me once they get past, but I am able to keep them in my sights for maybe a lap or two until they eventually get away from me. But again, it's mainly the main straight where I'm losing out. I think that last corner drive, I'm just struggling a little bit with keeping that speed, or at least getting back on the throttle early enough out of the final corner. That's one of the things I need to work on, as well as these left-hand corners here. I've not quite got the right lines going through those, so that is not helping me too much throughout the racing weekend, but those are things that will come. That's all about the track knowledge and just getting laps and laps and laps around this place, and I'm sure that will come eventually. So yeah, this was a long race, like I say, and I was wishing it was the end long before it was the end. Alright, I think, yep, this is Chris coming by. This is about halfway through the race right now. So we've got Chris, and I think this is Scott, forgive me if that's wrong, but Scott is on a GSX AS. And these guys are having a bit of a ding-dong by the look of it through the race. So I just tried to tag along for a little bit, and I think I managed 1 or 2.5 laps within shooting distance of these guys. Eventually they do pull away, and that's the last I see of them at some point. But yeah, good that the little R7 was able to keep up with some of these faster bikes on the day. I just need to work on finding, probably, if I could find consistently another second, then we can start to do some damage to the results. Maybe get them a podium or two. But yeah, we're missing that second and a half really. And I know where the time is, I think, and I've just got to work on those areas, and we'll get there eventually. So yeah, as you can see, I'm still sticking with them, but they do out-drag me down this main straight, as you can see. some things to work on, definitely for the future. Try not to run out of things to say, but this race eventually was, as you can see, red flagged here, unfortunately. So all our best wishes to the guy, unfortunately, who crashed. And yeah, so first race over and done with. Alright then, so this is the ASRA Thunderbike race, the first one of the weekend. This is technically a national round. There are different races this weekend which are national entities, however you want to describe them. So we are taking part in this, and let's see how we get on. So there is a bit of a story to this at the end, where there was various amounts of confusion, not only just from myself, but seemingly from the organisers too. But we'll get to that in the end. And I actually had a reasonable start. For me, this is a good start. You see the guy in the blue leathers there. Somehow, in my mind, I have disregarded him from my race, even though he's in first position in the amateur class. For some reason, in my mind, when I'm starting this race and not thinking about anything like that, I haven't clocked the fact that he's number one position. So for me, I think I've had a good start. And when I start to, ease into the race and start to think, well, where might I be? I try to remember back and say, well, who got in front of me? And for some reason, I disregarded him altogether. So I think at some point in this race, I'm thinking that I'm either winning or at least in P2. And so you'll see what happens right at the end and why I might have had a few words in my helmet at the end. But anyway, so we had a decent start still. Only the guy on P1, as you saw, was ahead of me. So that was a decent start for me. And very soon, the story of this race is essentially me, and this is, sorry if I pronounce your name wrong, this is Gabriele. I think she's from Brazil and has raced on various bikes like the R3, and is now, for some reason, racing in the Midwest on an R7, which was great for me. I truly enjoyed the challenge of trying to keep some consistency throughout this 10-lap race so that I could keep in touch with her. And because sometimes when you start to follow other riders, that can either make you lose focus on what you're doing, or you can start to second guess yourself, etc., etc. So for me, it was really important to just focus on myself, but try to maintain a race with her. And as you can see, she made a mistake finally after probably 3 laps of me following her, and we did get past. So that was really, it was just really good to have that, don't know how to say it, but feedback of consistency, and I'm talking about my past experiences here of racing. Sometimes I would get distracted, I would start making mistakes, and it would just get a little bit frustrating that I couldn't keep a gap to somebody who was on my similar pace. I always felt that I had lost out in sometimes. But anyway, so this was a really good race for me to maintain consistency and follow somebody on an R7. So it was bike to bike. That was fairly comparative. I think she weighs quite a lot less than I do, but still. But anyway, I did get a slow exit, as you saw, out that final corner, and she did get past again. So I tried to hook in behind again and just see if we could do anything else. But to be fair, she did hold that position. She's in the expert class, by the way, so it's not really racing for category at this point, but we'll get to that in the end as to why there was some confusion about the whole Thunderbike race. But let's just finish off this race. So so as you can see, we were on a very similar pace. It was a good thing to just try and keep up with her. And I enjoyed the full battle throughout the whole race. 10 laps was pretty much me and her, so I wasn't lonely out there. So I think this is the final corner. This might be me trying to just shield off anybody coming past me, but lo and behold, here comes another guy. And at this point, as you remember, I was thinking I might have won this thing. And for somebody to have pipped me on the line was very frustrating. You can probably hear me shouting on my helmet, no. But I don't actually know if he's amateur or expert or not until I get back in the pits. So as you can see here, some of us are getting directed to report to tech, which means that we've positioned highly enough in our category, amateur or expert, in my case, amateur again, and so we get called for a weigh-in. So yeah, when we get pulled in at the end of that race, we are directed to the technical inspection bay for whatever reason. So again, in my head, finish the race in either P1 or P2, and I'm excited to find out which one, because again, I've forgotten about the guy in first place who beat me into the first corner. So anyway, what happens next is a nice fun highlight. We get interviewed by the MC of the day, Kenny. So I'll let you listen to that, and then I'll come back and explain the next part.
Slide over to the 92 of Michael Jackson, and big guy on a little motorcycle, but man, you're making this thing work. Good job finishing there in second in the amateur class.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we had a good go. I knew if I could get a decent start, I might have a chance. So first time racing over here in the States this weekend. So I'm really happy that we've made some progress, and yeah, excited for tomorrow if I'm not too aching and tired and knackered. So.
yeah, good to have you, man. This bike looks like it's set up really well. Well done.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll see you back later on.
So that was fun, having a little interview, even though it turned out to be a bit of a the podium that never was, really, because what happens is that in those national races, they don't seem to give the prizes out for the amateur class. So in the end, there was no prize giving, there was no podium, even though we'd gone through all of that rigmarole of getting inspected or weighed and having the interview. In the end, by the time of the prize giving ceremony at the end of the day, if you like, if you can call it that, then it was announced that actually the amateurs didn't get any prizes. So ultimately it was still a good fun race, and it spurred me on to do as good as I could, and but ultimately, yeah, it doesn't really count as a podium. So bit of a shame there, but never mind. I think there's another race I'm going to show you, which will be the next morning. So Sunday morning, we do the lightweight super sport race. So I'm going to show you that. We've got a nice angle from a lad called Ethan, who was behind me for the first lap, and you kind of see that how the start went and how the rest of the race went once I cut back to my point of view. All right, so let's get into that. Okay, so here we go, and this is the lightweight super sport race Sunday morning. We've got Ethan right here on the right hand side, just there on his SV650, and we're going to switch to his view in a moment. So we're on the grid with Aaron RS660 on the left there, Casey on our right on an R7, we've got Andy on his R7 behind me, we've got Chris on his RS660, and we've got Ethan on the SV. So here we go, race start, and we... boom. So off we go. I'm here in the middle, look, and I do get a reasonable start and actually managed to get the whole shot in the amateur class. So I'm very pleased at this point. Managed to get that start good enough that we're in front, and we've now got this great view from Ethan from behind to see some of our lines and see what it looks like. I'm going to let you listen for a little bit and then I'll come back. This last section here is where I lose drive basically out of that last turn 6 and this last turn 7 here. I'm just not good enough on getting that throttle going, getting it on early enough. And as we can see, even though I did an admirable job on lap 1, we've got Ethan and Aaron get past me, and now we're switching back to my view. And sorry about the steam up of the camera here. We've got Ethan just dipping in there into 2nd place, hard on the brakes, so good for him. So we're now in 3rd place, and I know that the guys behind me are gonna catch me. All I can do is try and push as hard as I can, but ultimately I know they're gonna get past me. I'm just trying to see how long I can last before they do get past. And here I go quite deep into this corner, which is a mistake, and I lose time. And by the end of this lap or another one, we're going to get people coming past me. But it was a really good race, really good feeling to get that first lap out in front. Those race starts are slowly coming together. Right, so here's Andy, he dives underneath me on his R7, so that was good. And I can see where he's getting away from me, I can see where he's getting the jump on me. I just need to work on those key areas for next time, and I'll definitely be thinking about those things and trying to apply them when we're back there in August. But yeah, really good race this one. We were, even by the end, we were still technically in the mix. Right, so here we go. This is going to be Casey, so I'm tipping in right now, but there is a gap. Casey goes for it, I get pushed out wide, and that lets Chris through on his RS660 as well, so here he comes. So at this point, I'm at the back of the pack now. This is 5th position where I'm going to end up. And so my target now is to just see if I can hang with these guys. And like I say, if I could just find a consistent half a second to a second per lap, then I would be right in the mix, and it would be, even more fun, and we'd be getting some podium finishes. But like I say, I'm not trying to be too hard on myself. I know the key areas where I need to work on, and I don't think we can't be ashamed of anything. We did a really good job, and considering some of these bikes are a bit more powerful than mine, I think too I'm going to give myself that little excuse that we're doing pretty well. But yeah, this camera angle is steaming up a little bit, so we're not going to stick with it for the whole race. But I did want to show that even though the guys get past me, we can see all the next 3 bikes at least are right there in front of me, tantalizing me. And if I could just grab that little extra half a second a lap, then we'd be right there in the middle of it too. So that's what we're going to work on. Eventually I did finish this race in that 5th position, back of the pack, but again, it was a good fun race. Glad to lead the front lap there, and yeah, as you can see, we're steaming up, but we're still closing in. We're not getting dropped, which is a good thing really, and I'm pleased about that. We just need to get there in the mix a little bit more, and I'm sure that will come eventually. So yeah, there are some other races that I'm not going to show because you've probably had enough race footage at the moment. I might upload some race footage individually, so away from this kind of review style format, and just put the whole races up there. So look out for those if that's what you're interested in. I probably will upload some of the races in their entirety. You can just sit back and watch them if you want to. But yeah, I think I'm coming up to the end of this clip for this race, and it was a good one. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to get back on the grid with some of these boys in the future. So yeah, good stuff. All right, so for those of you that might be seriously thinking about racing your bike, let's just run through a few things about how the weekend went in terms of, was the bike prepared well? Did I have any issues with the technical inspections, blah, blah, blah. So firstly, I just want to quickly talk about the tires. So these are the Metzler Track Day Slick tires. These have been excellent. I've got absolutely no complaints about them. The tire wear has been pretty, I can't see anything wrong with the tire wear. The grip levels are excellent. I was really able to lean on the front tire, trail braking to the corner. At times I thought I was going too far, and so I would actually tell myself to back off, but the tires never skipped a beat or gave me any warning signs. It was just in my own head sort of thinking, I might be pushing these a bit too much. So yeah, the tires are excellent. The one thing they asked me to change was to get rid of that clip and make that a permanent lock wire to the oil filler. I'm trying to show you the rear tire for tire wear, so 1 second and I will show you that. So it's a bit hard with all this junk in the garage right now to show you, but as you can see, the tire wear on the rear is looking really, really good. In terms of the wear markers, we've still got plenty of life left on the tire too, so that's great. And like I say, we're using nice edge grip on these tires as well. So the other thing I want to talk about is the chain. The chain did look like it was getting a bit stretched, so I do need to make an adjustment. I will do a quick check by putting the chain. There's a quick check you can do to make sure you haven't stretched it too much, so I'm going to do a check on that later on. I don't think there's any issues. It was getting a little bit of extra wear on the chain guide over there. I know you can't see it very well, sorry, but so there was a bit of dust coming off that chain guide, so I did put some extra lube on there, and I think that might be caused by the bit of slackness. So it was kind of, you can see in some videos the chain was sinking in that area and then rubbing across that chain guide, so probably need a bit of adjustment on there. And I might try a different chain wax than the Maxima, just to make sure it's really getting into all the areas that it needs to. I know some of you will be interested in feedback on the seat that I modified, and all I can say is I don't know if that was the difference truly, or whether it was more me getting used to the track. But I went faster and faster all weekend. I felt much more comfortable on the bike. I didn't feel like I was shooting forwards under braking. I think it's made somewhat of a difference, so I'm really, really pleased with how it's turned out. It wasn't uncomfortable. There was no, strange feelings about it. I did get a bit more feeling from the back tire, I think. That helped me get the power down and keep the power on. And yeah, I'm really pleased with how that turned out. And it does, I know it looks like a hard ride. There was only 1 or 2 occasions where I was like, oh, my bum's hurting, but worth it for the comfort of actually riding the bike and hanging off and all that business. So yeah, very pleased about the seat unit. So all in all, the bike performed absolutely faultlessly. There were issues with the gears popping out of 5th into 4th or out of 4th when I didn't quite get my solid gear change in. That's just, unfortunately, as I'm hearing from other people too at the track, even on the same day, it's just the R7, the CP2 engine, unfortunately, doesn't like that 4th to 5th gear. There are solutions that are expensive, so I did get a quick shifter. So finally, I did a deal with Sergio at the track, and I now am in possession of a quick shifter, the standard one, nothing fancy. So eventually we'll get that fitted. I didn't want to do it on the track on the race weekend itself because I didn't want to incur any issues from it. It's not a time to do your debugging, it's a time to go racing. So I will get that fitted and we'll go for a ride on the road at some point with that on. So I do have a quick shifter now that may help. Sometimes it might have been my own throttle action that was causing me some issues with the gears. It's always hard to think back in time, but we will have a quick shifter on it, and maybe that will help some of the gear shift issues. So I think that's everything technically wise. I did do some fuel calculations, so I was pumping fuel out the tank, refilling it, then getting a measure at the end of a race to figure out exactly how many liters per lap I was using, and that was useful to help me balance fuel levels through the different races with the different lap amounts. Like I say, the GTL race was probably 16 laps, The other races, the sprinter races, were more about 8 or 10 laps. So there's a difference there that you need to make sure that you're fueled up for. So it was useful to get an idea of how much fuel per lap I was using, so I managed to do that, so that was good too. So yeah, everything went very well with the bike, other than those few very small minor things which we can work on in the future a little bit. So I'm very pleased with how it all went. Okay, so I hope you've watched this little review of the race weekend. The next plan to go back racing will be in the middle of August. We are moving the whole house in the meantime, so I'm only going to run the Sunday, I think, at the next round at Blackhawk Farms. That'll mean I won't qualify. I'll just be at the back of the grids for the Sunday races, but there are, you know, plenty of races to choose from on the Sunday, so we'll see what damage we can do there. But I hope you've had, you know, a bit of an insight into the racing scene. If you've got any questions, let me know. I hope the racing footage was okay. Sorry about the steam up one. Not sure what went on there, but yeah, just any thoughts and comments, any likes, you know, please give us a like, help us grow the channel a little bit if you can. These are a little bit of effort to make when I'm knackered after a race weekend. My legs and everything are still aching, and it's Thursday morning now, so it takes me a while to recover, and I do feel tired for a few days after. So I'm trying to work on this in the meantime of doing all the other things too. So if you don't mind giving a little reward, some likes and some shares maybe, that would be great. I appreciate all you guys for watching, and we'll be back soon with more videos, I'm sure. I hope it's been entertaining in some ways and informative in others. So thanks for watching. We'll be back soon. Bye.